Today I'm interviewing Londoners about their mental health and how they have been affected in 2020 since COVID has hit. People have had to go through very difficult things such as lockdowns, quarantines, having to try and move house, move country, and try to keep themselves safe. People have had very unusual situations like jobs being put on hold that they had hoped to do, or people who've newly graduated not being able to find work. So today I want to find out how people have been impacted psychologically due to COVID, what has happened in terms of their mental health.
I think this year's definitely been a year where I've had to draw on many mental health tools that I've been fortunate enough to kind of accumulate over the last 10 years through different therapies and conversations with friends. It's really highlighted how important routine is for me and my diet is for me. I fell off the bandwagon on the first lockdown with regards to my diet, etc. I think the second one's really been a lesson in that area. But for regard to my mental health, it's been actually quite interesting for me to utilize these tools and to actually put them into fruition instead of just having them in my mental health toolbox. I've suffered in my past with depression and anxiety for many years, but it's actually quite a nice, interesting period of my life where you can kind of draw from past experiences and use them and share them with friends as well.
Do you feel that you can talk about mental health and the past struggles that you've had far more easily because of the COVID situation and the fact that everyone has been impacted?
Do you know what? It's a very good point. I think this year has definitely made a lot of people more compassionate, and the discussion of mental health has been a lot better, I feel, this year. I think the services could be a lot better. I think it's highlighted that the services for mental health could be a lot better as well. But definitely people who haven't necessarily been aware of their issues with mental health, I think they feel as if they're a bit more in a safe space to talk about them because everybody is going through a difficult time.
What's been the best tool for you to stay healthy mentally during this difficult year?
I think it's to go easy on myself and not put too much pressure on myself to complete tasks. I think for many years, I was just talking about this now, I've lived on adrenaline as an energy, there's a motivational kind of energy for myself. And this year's put a stop to lots of projects. I've had to really sit in an empty void of no work for a few days. And that's actually been a blessing. It's made me realise how important downtime is and not to really pack my day up with stuff that isn't necessary.
It sounds like you've really pressed the reset button and you've taken a step back and decided to do things a bit different in your life.
I think so. I work in a similar industry to you, so I've lived in a world where you work for very busy periods and you have time off, and I've realised the hard way how important it is to have a routine and to make sure you keep an eye on your diet and who you hang out with and what type of people give you energy, etc. And this year has been a year where I've definitely realised how important that is. I think that's definitely been a year. It's definitely been a year where I've realised from going through those experiences in the past that actually everybody is going to have to do this at some point. And I think it's helped knowing that everybody else is in the same boat.
Yeah, I think talking about mental health is just so much easier now because people can relate, because it would be impossible for someone to not be affected in some shape or form.
Yeah, because we all have mental health and things happen in our lives at times and they are very difficult, and I think we should normalise therapies, especially alternative therapies, and normalise and accumulating a tool chest of tools for you to utilise. I think if we all were prepared for bad things, we could all deal with them a lot better. It's how we deal with it, and that's what my lesson this year has been. Is I've been lucky enough to have a tool chest to be able to deal with bad things.
I really like what you've said there, that being prepared for the bad things to happen and knowing that actually we all suffer as humans, therefore we will have further suffering in the future, and we should be prepared and have some strategies. What industry do you work in?
Television, broadcasting.
Okay.
So in front and behind the camera.
Has your working life drastically changed or taken some...
Yeah, interestingly, I only have to dress for the top half now because everything's on a Zoom call. So if you, my Instagram, yes, I showed that I just have to wear half a tuxedo now to do most jobs. So everything's on a Zoom call now. I really miss the live event stuff. This weirdly and interestingly, I'm going to wrap this up. It's cold and I'm sorry I'm keeping you. It's really interesting that I do love the tip of the iceberg of my job, but all the things that come with it, I really miss. The travel, the camaraderie, the excitement, the nervousness of failure, fear of failure, all that stuff has been taken away, and all of a sudden I'm just in my kitchen on a Zoom call trying to maintain an energy that's really difficult to do. But
Do you wear your slippers when you're on the Zoom call?
that's for me to know and for you to never find out.
I definitely wear my slippers when I'm with my clients.
If
on the
anybody
Zoom
could
call.
see actually what's going on underneath. During the summer when it was really hot as well, it was just underwear. So nobody knows. Top off, I'm very smiley and keeping it all together. Underneath, it's just a...
Who knows?
It's a nightmare. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, thank you so much. You've been very candid with your struggles, but also with how you've coped as well.
I was in Italy, I was starting a job, I was graduating, I was about to go and live by myself, but it stopped everything. And there are no jobs right now, universities are closed, and yeah, there are still courses right now, but I don't really like being in front of a camera when I talk to my professor. After the first lockdown, I lived with my parents in Italy, but it was mentally stressful, extremely stressful, because in Italy people just stay out all day long and come home at night after they finish job. So living 24 hours a day with my parents was a bit different to what I was used to.
Yeah.
To a point where just we couldn't almost see and look at each other in our eyes.
Yeah.
I think there is a generational gap, a very deep generational gap between my generation, our generation, and the one of our parents.
Yeah.
Graduating from university, it was really stressful with the job hunt, just having so much uncertainty. And then from a more personal perspective, not being able to socialize with friends regularly is difficult. You can catch up on Zoom, but it's often not the same. So Australia has compulsory 2-week quarantine in a hotel. I had to go back to Australia to get my visa before the job that I've accepted, which was over here. And then I had to do 2 weeks in a hotel room. That was also difficult because I literally couldn't leave the hotel room. We had mental health support giving us a call every second day.
Obviously it's been difficult not being able to go out and socialise and such, and really kind of connect with a support group.
Yeah.
But at the same time it's given me a lot of kind of space to sit and reflect on some things that I perhaps wouldn't have had the time to otherwise. But obviously there's been massive negatives as well, because it is such a weird time.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're going through this massive global trauma.
How has having a dog helped you this year?
So much. She is a lockdown puppy. She's totally a quarantine puppy.
You decided because of the lockdown it was a good time to have the company?
because I'd be kind of home to train her and be with her and such while she was really small. I don't think I would have got her were it not for lockdown, and she totally has been great, because it's meant at least that I've had to leave the house a couple times a day just to take her on walks and such.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's great, because she's also meant that you get a little bit of a social time speaking with other owners of other dogs in the park and what have you. When you have a dog, it's they will introduce themselves to the dog before they do you, and I totally get it, because I do the same. I don't blame them, she's the best.
I know mental health is a big issue of the lockdown, because I did get the virus and I was home and I miss my family and I feel stressed. I did just get oxygen because it was my breathing, because I'm asthmatic also. Yes, I was worried. I was really, really worried, and was oh my God, I'm a healthcare assistant, we work in the NHS, and I was oh my God, I'm in Sharon Cross Hospital lying down in this bed. I really can't wear the mask because I try anxiety and my breathing problem, but when I'm in crowd I have to wear it. And then I have loved one that that passed, a few family member that passed. We have to watch funeral on Zoom, so
oh my God,
it's really hard.
That's
honestly.
awful.
Yeah, I think obviously it's been tough on the mental health. I think you have to do the things that help your mental health, so making sure you put that first.
Actually, I think the whole lockdown thing really helped my mental health.
Really?
Yeah, I had the reverse, because working long hours, it actually gave me a bit of space to try out. You got those list of things where you're I want to try that, I want to try that. So I tried yoga, I tried meditating, I got into all of that and running regularly. And I think I got a lot of perspective, actually, which I found quite weird. So actually the adverse, I feel bad saying it, but I think it was actually quite beneficial. I think it was the mindset of building the idea that you've got to build a good career and all that business and having all that. So that was very much in my head. And that being very much at the forefront of my mind, like, oh, I've got to get a good job, I've got to climb up the ladder, I've got to make money, and all of that. And I think I lost a bit of sight of existing. I think it has changed the framing somewhat. It's definitely brought up some questions, especially when you go back to everything. When you have that space to sort of actually have a chat with yourself instead of telling yourself you've got to get this done and stuff like that, and have a conversation with yourself. It does sort of throw up some different questions that might not necessarily come to the fore in a busy lifestyle. It's quite strange. Like I said, I always feel there's almost a bit of guilt about it, because I know how a lot of people have found it really tough, and it's been so tasking for so many people. I do have psychodynia to a degree.
I have ADHD, so because I've been isolated for so long. I don't know how to talk to people now. Yeah, I don't know how to speak to people anymore.
What's the secret to keeping a household of 3 children in these difficult times where you're spending so much more time at home? How have you managed to keep everyone sane and avoid arguments and things like this?
Yeah, it has been tricky, but I think fundamentally I've remained calm, and I think that's led to my children feeling calm too. Mm-hmm. As a family, we've done lots of cooking together, played lots of board games. We also did go down we have a house luckily by the seaside, so we actually decamped there away from London. So I think that the sea kept us sane actually. And I definitely was aware that if I panicked or looked like I wasn't coping, then my children wouldn't cope so well. Try to keep my children outside as much as possible. We tended to have lessons in the morning, and then we were out most afternoons for a walk, for a bike ride. So I think that really, really helped. I don't know, there was something within me. I thought I just need to get lots of books, just back to basics, reading, keeping a diary with my girls, cooking. I just thought that would be the best thing to do.
Today was such an interesting day of filming, and I met so many different people from all walks of life, different genders, different ethnicities, different ages, and they all talked about how this year has been for them. Both positive and negative experiences. Some people developed resilience, some people stepped back and thought about life in a different way and thought about what was important to them. And other people have really struggled. People really spoke so openly today about their mental health, and I just thought, wow, what a great time we're actually living in, but what a catastrophe has had to happen to allow the stigma to finally end. And it's taken something to happen in the world that we're all affected by for us to finally admit as humans that of course we struggle mentally. One guy said today, we all have mental health. And that was something that when I was growing up in Ireland, no one said we all have mental health. The last time I did street interviews with people was actually 6 years ago. And I was asking people about depression in those interviews. And it was harder to get people to talk. People kind of rushed past me when I said I wanted to talk about depression or wanted to talk about mental health. And I mean, I did get people to speak, it just took longer. Whereas today, most people I asked were really open to actually speaking, which really surprised me, bearing in mind we had a camera. And it's just so great that we're now living in a time where people actually know that all humans have mental health and therefore can be affected in terms of their mental health, just the same as anyone can be affected by a physical illness.